Swadlincote, a quiet town in Derbyshire, England, has become the setting for a mysterious and eerie tale deeply embedded in local folklore. This story is about a ghost train that is said to run on a now-defunct railway line. The following events are based on the experiences of two police officers who encountered something truly extraordinary during their night patrol. Joe Stafford and Whitney Holmes-Small, police constables, were preparing for an ordinary night in Swadlincote when something quite extraordinary occurred. While they were on the courtyard of the Swadlincote police station on Civic Way, they suddenly heard a loud rumbling noise, as if a train were approaching.
You ever feel like we're being watched?
Just because you've been reading those ghost stories again, Joe.
Did you hear that?
What was that noise?
Stafford and Holmes-Small looked at each other, terrified and confused by the sound. The leaves on the nearby trees began to rustle violently as if moved by a strong wind. Then they heard the unmistakable sound of a train horn despite there being no railway line for miles.
There's nothing there. What was that noise?
The ghost train.
Don't be ridiculous, Joe. It's just an old wives' tale.
Convinced they had heard a train, the pair delved into the history of the town center and discovered that a train line once ran right behind the police station many years ago. A spokesperson for the Swadlincote Police Safer Neighborhood team said,
As I delved deeper into my research, I unearthed a tragic tale that sent shivers down my spine. On a stormy night in 1928, a train carrying miners home from a late shift had derailed near the spot where Whitney and I had heard the strange noises. The accident had claimed the lives of dozens of men, their souls forever bound to the tracks they had traveled on their final journey. The story sent a chill down my spine. Could this be the source of the ghostly noises? Was it the mournful cries of those lost souls that Whitney and I had heard?
It's just a coincidence, right?
Part of me, the rational, logical part, wanted to dismiss it as just that. But another part, a primal instinct deep within me, whispered that there were some things in this world that defied explanation.
This wasn't the only connection to the historical railway in the town. There is also the newly built Old Railways Mews, located beside Midland Road, as well as Yard Close, which was the site of the line's old freight depot.
We returned to the site of the alleged haunting, armed with audio recorders and a high-powered camera. The night was still and silent, the air thick with anticipation. We walked slowly along the overgrown tracks, our senses on high alert. Hours passed, but the only sounds were the chirping of crickets and the rustling of leaves in the wind. Just when our hopes began to dwindle, we heard it. A low rumble in the distance, like the sound of an approaching storm. It grew louder, morphing into a distinct chugging sound, accompanied by the unmistakable clang of metal wheels on tracks. This is it.
The sound was deafening now, the very air vibrating with the force of the unseen locomotive. We held our breath, our hearts pounding in our chests, as a blinding light pierced through the darkness.
The light was blinding, ethereal, like nothing we had ever seen before. It illuminated the tracks ahead, revealing nothing. There was no train, no source for the light, no explanation for the deafening sound that seemed to shake us to our core. Then, as quickly as it had begun, it was over. The light vanished. The sound faded into the distance, leaving behind an eerie silence that was somehow more unsettling than the noise itself. Whitney and I stared at each other, our faces pale with shock and disbelief. We had seen it, heard it, felt it. The ghost train of Swadlincote was real. Shakily, I reached for the audio recorder, my hand trembling as I hit the playback button. The sound that emerged from the device sent chills down our spines. It was the unmistakable sound of a steam locomotive, the chugging of the engine, the hiss of escaping steam, the clang of the wheels on the tracks. It was a sound from a bygone era, a sound that should not exist in the dead of night on a disused railway line. We had our evidence, but what did it mean?
Passenger trains haven't run through Swadlincote for more than 70 years, with the last services ceasing in 1947.
The next day, news of our encounter spread through Swadlincote like wildfire. Skeptics scoffed, but others, those who had always clung to the legend, nodded knowingly.
The ghost train was more than just a story. It was a part of the town's fabric, woven into its history and its people. Some whispered that the train only appeared on the anniversary of the tragic accident, a spectral reminder of the lives lost.
Others claimed it was a harbinger of change, a sign that something big was about to happen in Swadlincote. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: the ghost train had captured the town's imagination.
Joe and I found ourselves at the center of a mystery that had captivated the community. We continued our investigation, interviewing locals, poring over old maps and historical records, searching for a rational explanation for the unexplainable.
But the more we learned, the more elusive the truth seemed to become.
Well, my dear viewers, we've reached the end of another delightfully chilling tale. If you've enjoyed our eerie journey through Swadlincote and its ghostly train, do subscribe to the Creepypasta channel. It seems you have quite the fascination with ghost trains, don't you? Based on real events or not, your obsession is truly amusing. Good night, and may your dreams be as hauntingly delightful as our stories. If you dare to sleep at all.